So we're back with another retro shelf video, and today we're looking at 10 print. And you can see the list of 10 authors there, starting with Nick Montfort, published by the MIT Press, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and this is part of their software studies series, which led into the platform studies, which included Racing the Beam and other books. So you can see this is based on the maze generation code, first featured in the Commodore 64 User's Manual back in 1982, so 40 years ago, and then prominently re-shown in Run magazine as the single liner, which is the version Nick remembered. And I do love the style of this book, made to look a lot like the original C64 User's Guide, and using the font. So there we go. Software studies there, the other titles in the series. 10 authors collaborated. Royalties donated to Play Power, non-profit organisation. And the contents. So then the chapters take you through series forward. 10 introduction, introducing the original program and explaining how it will be analysed, going through each of the tokens and what they mean, and then a plan of the book. These smaller chapters in between the 5-line numbers add extra variations and information, emulating the Commodore 64, unbalanced and weave variants, corners and diagonals, 4 walls, 2 walls, and using poke instead of print, adding random sounds. So then this is a look at the more cultural side. What is a maze? Going back through history, Amiens Cathedral pattern, tile pattern there, complex structures, laboratory mazes with Claude Shannon there, looking at a mechanical mouse called Theseus. Talking about the influence of mazes in games such as Pac-Man and Venture on the VCS. Porting 10 print to other platforms, so Apple II and TRS-80 there. Perl and JavaScript, using the Path programming language. Regularity, looking at modern art and how it compares. Repetition in space. Tiled patterns. Famous loom and on punch cards. And these darker blue backgrounds are digressions and further text. So this piece is about screensavers. Now you could in fact use template as a sort of screensaver. Repetition, using GOTO, which the program does. The loop, and a dance based on a loop with variations. Variations in processing. So changing what it does by changing the random seed and the print value. Processing language port there, and these are I quite like these. It's quite stylish with the different thicknesses or lines. Randomness as it appears in games of chance, so looking back at various studies on that. 1,000,000 random digits for looking up random numbers. Explaining how computational randomness has been used in the arts with early experiments. Randomness in contemporary computing, which, as it says, underlines a lot of the web protocols. Here we are editing the random function to generate different patterns. Then this section talks about one-liners and memorizing short pieces of code. So again, altering what our familiar program does to produce some nice effects. This icicle storm here looks really good in action. And then on to basic, talking about the origins, John Kennedy and Thomas Kurtz at Dartmouth. BASIC coming to the home through Altair BASIC and Microsoft. Microsoft licensed their BASIC to the free main machines in 1977, the PET, the Apple II and the TRS-80 for a flat license fee rather than royalties. And then Commodore BASIC. And so its specific changes, basics and memorizing programs, late BASIC, things that have been added to BASIC. Very unusual one here, referring back to Racing the Beam, a book on programming the Atari VCS, Atari 2600, and how it would be possible to port the 10-print program to that, and how to generate such a complex output with the unusual graphic structure of the Atari 2600. And on to a chapter specifically on the Commodore 64. As I said, celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, and why it's important for going into the home. Now, small programs are a good way to demonstrate it. So the legacy of the PET and the VIC-20, which both had the PETSCII, extended ASCII character set that includes the graphics shown on the front keys that we need for this program. The difference between the diagonal PETSCII character 206 and the fax and the standard slash Solidus. We're talking about the VIC-2 chip and designing new characters. An interesting one here with a thinner line, single pixel line rather than 3 pixel wide. Give it a slight difference to the main. It's talking about the kernel built into the machine, and then looking at Fredbear, an assembly language version of 10-print, and a digression on Fred, a tiny demo scene production, which gets it down to just 18 bytes. And then the section expands and builds on the basic idea, allowing you to walk the maze. This is the maze walker, which produces a stable maze and allows you to move around it. Touching the maze, and then testing the maze, see if there's a solution to get out. And then the conclusion, saying how important it is to analyse software like this, and now the book touches on wider cultural issues. And then we've reached the end. So the thank yous, works cited, books and web references and academic studies, the variants of 10-print, 1982 one from the User's Guide, 1984 variant with line 8 rather than line 10 from Run, a slideshow by Nick Montfort, and then our late friend, my dear Lord Ronin, who contributed to Scene World and quite a few other things I'm involved in. He did a version of this for Commodore Free magazine, which unfortunately gives a type mismatch error when you run it. More variants on there, looking at the different number you can use in there, 109 and 110 rather than 205 and 206 in the CHR string statement. And then how it's been remembered, and again a version that gives a huge comment at the start, which probably doesn't fit into a line. So I'm talking about everyone involved in writing. So it's a collaborative process, which is interesting. And the indexed. So while it may seem unusual to have an entire book dedicated to a single line of programming in BASIC, the end result is a fascinating read because it touches on so many different aspects of the Commodore 64. It looks at wider ideas such as art and culture, and it talks a lot about how programming perhaps isn't the ephemeral and here today gone tomorrow thing it should be. So, fascinating book to read. I can also recommend the Platform Studies series from MIT Press. I'll leave links in the description so you can find the book, and I do hope you will watch more of my Retro Shelf videos. Please like, share, subscribe, comment below, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep it retro.